What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what is moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 0.53%, 1147 the high, 1115 the low. Today we had some volatility first thing. So Lucid was participating obviously with the broader market for that. But it's kind of slowly recovered. All in all, it's been a fairly boring day. There really hasn't been that much in kind of macro data, nor has there been any news associated to Lucid. So you can kind of see tomorrow is the big day. We have CPI, ADP weekly. So that's going to be very impactful to the broader market. But today was more of a reflection day to basically everything that came out over the weekend. And there was some pretty hot topics. Luckily enough, none of it really directly kind of affects Lucid, because you did have over the weekend Trump saying that he's going to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. That's affecting a lot of the finance stocks as well as some consumer, but still Lucid, I don't think anyone's buying a Lucid on a credit card. But aside from that, this obviously is impacting the broader market. We also did have JPM coming out early this morning, pretty much saying that they're doing a complete 180. Now they don't believe any cuts are going to occur in 2026, and rather there might be even hikes in 2027. So that is a complete 180. They didn't really break it down on where they're getting this from, because they, along with UBS, oddly enough, I think Bank of America might have even too, they became very optimistic on the broader market, and JPM gave the S&P a 7,700 target by the end of the year. So kind of interesting. So maybe they assume that the broader market is still going to continue to track forward just without any rate hikes or cuts, sorry. And so at the end of the day, this is kind of impacting some more speculative and growth stocks. Luckily enough, Lucid is doing very well considering everything. There really hasn't been that much in news, so no press releases, no SEC filings. On social media, we had Ahmad post this. So one of many kind of deliveries. So Lucid's been really ramping up on that. The latest flyover obviously did portray that as well. So hopefully their Q1 numbers are kind of like in line with the Q4, which was very impressive, mind you. Still, despite that impressive numbers that came out, like we still haven't really had any analyst ratings, which is absolutely insane. The only other thing I wanted to kind of bring up was this right here, posted by Truth Rules. And we do know, because of that whole video, kind of gravity review, it did bring up a lot of issues. There was one update that did come out pretty much immediately after that video. So Lucid clearly made that a priority. So this is kind of the finishing touches. So there is another update that is coming. So that's, again, a good thing, good for consumers and all of that. Aside from that, shorts are returning about 32,000 shares. Even looking right over here on the teal line, they haven't done jack all. So today, even they are pretty much just sitting back and just relaxing, waiting for something to happen. Still, 35.63% of the free float's being shorted. That is very, very high stuff. 46.5 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 22.59. Short score 82.94. So shorts, as well as some institutions, are just waiting for something to happen. Even today, we're seeing about 3 transactions on the secondary market above $100,000. So institutions aren't really doing even that much with Lucid today. So we just have to, I guess, wait. Possibly, I guess, one whole month or just over that for their upcoming earnings. That might be the next big catalyst for Lucid. Hopefully they have more stuff kind of planned from now up until then. I've noticed that they actually haven't done any marketing or any PRs about the Gravity touring, because in theory that was unveiled and kind of started in December. That, based on the price point, in my opinion, would be a little bit better of a seller than the GT, but I could be wrong. So it'd be maybe good if Lucid somehow provided some general updates, because I know they are trying to be more transparent. I think that obviously needs some room for improvement still, but if they were to, let's say, kind of come out and say, mention just how well the touring is doing, I think that would be pretty good. Of course, I think if that whole $7,500 tax credit was still in force, then we might be seeing a lot more of a greater demand, but still something to keep in mind. Looking at the options, 575,000 in calls, 1.2 in puts. 49% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. So this does match with the common stock, just very low volume. Aside from that, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 1150. Bears are anticipating for it to be roughly between that 1050 and 11. So they're anticipating a little bit more downside, but they're not really that bearish for this upcoming week, which is rather interesting because we do have a lot of big data. So as I mentioned, tomorrow's a hot one. Then we have on Wednesday PPI, retail sales, also the existing home sales, the whole kind of update for the tariff ruling for Trump. So a lot of crazy stuff is happening. Plus, on the side note, I didn't bring this up first thing, but with the whole J.Powell investigation by the DOJ, that's also adding a whole level of uncertainty. And based on what his video he put out, it shows that this is probably being orchestrated by Trump. So definitely a lot of interesting stuff is happening all at the same time, it seems like. And then even over and above that, some geopolitical things. Trump just very adamant that Greenland is going to be a part of the States, which if that does happen, I think it's just a matter of time before Canada does. So let me know your kind of general thoughts on that. I know usually in these types of videos, I don't kind of ask or talk so much about geopolitical and that type of stuff, but that would be very, very impactful to the States because if they somehow took over the Canada, reduce the tariffs, I think the auto kind of sector would, in theory, flourish. But aside from that, these are all the transactions or lack thereof on the dark pool. So matches with shorts not really doing anything whatsoever. Aside from that, with it at 1136, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So this is the 1-day chart, very strong support and resistance points, 1094 and then 1145. So it kind of bounced off of this general pivot point. So we know that's a pretty strong resistance point going forward, but still today is just a low volume, kind of boring day. Not really anything crazy. We have about 2 hours left in the trading day. I do anticipate a little bit more of a push lower, and that's just because last minute jitters for CPI. But still, there's not really much unusual options, nothing crazy going on. Very low options, in fact. And then aside from that, nothing really crazy for articles, no new analyst ratings. So still analysts are not really doing too much for that. So at the end of the day, it is just largely getting moved through algorithmic trading. And you can see that very apparent through the flow right at the bottom right over here. Aside from that, quickly going over here. So even though it's starting to push a little bit lower, it is still above that 10-day moving average. So signals that there's still some hope and some momentum behind the scenes. Stochastic RSI, because of the recent price action, you see it considered very overbought. So the first sign of weakness, you could see some consolidation. So that's obviously could happen. But in order for that consolidation to occur, you need something specific to Lucid or the broader market negatively to come out, such as data. So tomorrow will be a very big deciding point for the broader market, whether we kind of start to move towards that 50-day moving average, so this blue line right here, or whether we break down and we possibly retest the 52-week low. So it is a fun ride, that's for sure. Let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all you watching.